Well, good morning and welcome back to a very windy, chilly, sunny morning here in Cambridge. Now, as you can probably see from the trees behind me, autumn has most definitely arrived. So I think it's time today that we look at the solar generation figures, but specifically for our north-facing array. Now, in the past, I've done a number of videos where we've talked about the value of having north-facing solar panels, specifically here in the UK. And a lot of you have always asked for more data. So today we're going to take a look at the whole summer. What did they generate? How much extra on top of just having the south-facing panels did they deliver to us? And more importantly, how much money did they make us? So let's head inside, out of the wind, and I'll share all the data with you. So what I'd like to do today is to show you the data from my solar system, and then we'll focus in on the north-facing panels. Now, just to be clear, because some people in the comments over the last couple of days said, well, they're not strictly north-facing. They're actually not. They're north by northeast facing. So northish, as I like to call it. But I generally refer to them as my north-facing array because my other arrays are south by southeast and south by southwest facing. So forgive me, I call them my north-facing panels, and I do know if you live in the southern hemisphere, it's the other way around. You'll be your south-facing panels that will be your worst generators. But what I'm going to do is I want to show you a tool that I've been building. This is not available for everybody to play with yet. It's still in its early phases, but I found myself getting buried in more and more and more spreadsheets. So I decided to build myself a little web tool that did exactly what I want it to do, that I don't have to keep fiddling with formulas. It just does what I need it to do. And this is that tool. Now, eventually my plan is I will make this available on the website for others to use, but it's far from complete functionality yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import a data set because you could sit here for 5 minutes and watch me enter all the different months up here. I can come along and just type in a month. But what I'm actually going to just do is import a data file that has all of this year's generation in it. So let's get that loaded. Okay, so what you can see here are all the different months of the year so far, so January through August that we have complete data sets for, and the different colors here reside to the different arrays I have on my roof. So my garage roof, my rear roof, that's my south by southwest facing roof, my front roof, which is my north facing panels, and then my fence mounted panels are the two different systems there. So what we get is a consolidated roll up of all the different systems. And again, I can just mouse over them if I want to have a look at each individual piece of data. So in May 2025, those north facing panels generated just shy of 400 kilowatt hours. But what this allows me to do is obviously just turn off some of the other arrays. So if I want to take a look at specifically the data for my north-facing panels, then this is what we get. Now, as you can see, in January and February, not a great deal. And that's mainly because the sun is so low in the sky that it actually tracks behind my neighbours' houses and doesn't actually start hitting those panels until sort of mid to late morning. And then by early afternoon, it's around the back of the house and starting to set again. So we don't get a lot of generation there. But you can see from March, roughly from when the clocks change, this really starts to kick in because as we move from early March through to the summer solstice in June, the sun rises earlier and earlier every single day. And it rises, in my case, in the north by northeast part of the sky. So my panels really start kicking in at sometimes at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. But what we can see here, in March, they contribute 198 kilowatts. As we get into April, we're up at 317, running into May at 399, and then June, 437. Now we had a big dip there into July. That's mainly because we had a pretty rubbish July, a lot of rain, 299, and actually August was just ever so slightly better than that, so at 307. But I would take July as a bit of an outlier there. The trend is probably more then towards August. But if I scroll down here, this is where we can see the percentage of my generation. So again, for each month, for each array, what did they contribute to the whole? So you can see here, again, back in January, February. Now generation was pretty low throughout January. Obviously the big array on the rear roof contributed the most there, but 19, 17%. But once we start getting up into April and May, you'll see we're pushing towards 30% of our generation every single month from that north-facing array. And that's because, as I said, the sun rises so early in that morning sky that we're generating for a good probably 5 hours before the rear-facing arrays, the garage and the rear roof, really start to come online. So if anyone ever tells you that north-facing arrays, you won't get your money back, just to put it into perspective, 30% of my generation is coming from those panels. Now, I know others who have slightly different arrays, different setups, are seeing even higher figures than that. But for me, it's about 30% of my generation. Now, if we take a look at what I've been able to earn from my solar system over the last few months, certainly across the summer, what you can see is obviously January and February, we had an electricity bill. But ever since then, as we get into March, all the way through so far to the end of August, we've had a negative electricity bill every single month. And the thing that has made the difference between us paying an electricity bill, even though it might be a very small one, to having a negative electricity bill where our energy company pays us, are those north-facing panels. Those north-facing panels contribute almost 30% to it. If we were to take 30% off of all of our numbers, then the amount of energy that we would export wouldn't cover our usage. So in my case, those north-facing panels are absolutely critical to having zero energy bills, for having Octopus pay me at the end of the month rather than me pay them. So anyway, that's my data. If you would like to try this tool out, I'm hoping to be able to release it onto the website in a couple of months. It is completely anonymous, so you don't need to log in, you don't need to tell me any data about you, and all of the data that you would put into it is stored in your browser. So if you go to another computer, it won't work, you won't be able to see it. It is stored locally on the machine that you're using. It's just using the web server to visualize the data for you. Anyway, it's still nowhere near finished, lots more features to come, but hopefully those of you that are sort of a little bit scared of the spreadsheets, a bit like me, realizing that one tiny little error in a formula will throw all your data off, hopefully this will give you something a little bit easier to use once it's ready to go. Anyway, that's all I wanted to cover today. I hope you found this interesting. If you do have any questions, then do hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear from others that have north-facing arrays. Have you modeled it to find out what percentage of your generation your north-facing arrays are bringing in? Is it higher than mine? I would imagine 30% is probably a bit on the low side. Some of you may be getting a lot more than that. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. So it just remains for me to say thank you for clicking on this video. I really do appreciate it. And if I'm lucky, I will see you back here real soon for another video. Take care.